Well, tonight, a caveat to the notion that we have lost the war in Afghanistan. And here's the point. Yes, as a nation and as members of our military, there's no question that Afghanistan is going to go down as a loss. There's no question. But there are those for whom this is not a loss. In fact, it's a win. It's a big win, especially when it comes to this. I think you know what we're talking about. Joining us now to explain is NRS correspondent Farron Franzak. She has some totals for us, and they're very impressive or very ugly. Depends on how you're looking at it.
I was going to say, depends upon which way you're looking at it, Rick. But every American should know right now that not only did we pay for our soldiers to go over there, we also paid for the Afghan soldiers to fight there, and we paid them more than our own soldiers.
Think about this for a minute. We paid people to fight in their own country and paid them more than what we pay our troops.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody just stop for a minute and take that in. Everybody at home, just stop for a minute and take that in and tell me if it makes any damn sense. Okay, we've stopped. Go ahead.
Lots to unpack here, but let's look at the total numbers here. Director Kevin, let's throw it up there. So as far as the total cost of the war, you have $2.26 trillion. That would equal $300 million per day that we spent on this war for 20 years. Wow. Every day, $300 million. Or we could give $50,000 to each of Afghanistan's 40 million people. Now let's break down exactly what was in that spending. You'll see it all here, but the numbers that I want you to look at, Rick, $85 billion to train the Afghan army, $5 billion a year in aid for Afghanistan, and then you had the $750 million for the Afghan soldier payroll. So they're finding that it was cheaper to pay the Afghan army than actually send our soldiers there. It costs about $1 million to send a soldier there, not what they're paid, what it costs.
And of course, they fought so brilliantly, these Afghan soldiers, especially this last week.
Right, exactly. And so we look at now who got the most bang for their buck. Again, the defense contractors. So let's take a look here. This is if you bought $10,000 of stock in 2001. This is where it would be today. Lockheed Martin over 133,000. Northrop Grumman 130. Boeing 107. General Dynamics 72,000. Raytheon over 43,000. The thing that's also interesting, Rick, I want you to look at this next graphic. These are the of the top 5 defense contractors. These are their board members. Now, you don't have to read the little nitty-gritty here, but what's important to note is they're all former Secretary of Defense, former Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, former Navy Chief. You also even have Jim Mattis, who was the former Secretary of Defense and former Marine Corps General. A name you will not see on there, though, is former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. But I'm sure you might have some friends or two on here, Michael. What say you?
This is called interlocking, by the way. Yeah. They work in the military. They also work on NBC, giving them advice. They also stand and sit on boards, and then they go in and work in the government, a la Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. Let me stop. This is fascinating, what she has just reported to us. Yeah. I mean, this is what the war maybe was all about?
To a large degree, it is. Yeah,
that's sad.
Well, and that's why you're going to continue to have crisis after crisis, because we have to continue feeding that insufferable giant that will continue to need to be fed, because the defense contractors are very clever. And they have played with our congressional people to put something that goes into every component of every weapon system in every state. Yeah. And so they're all they all have to adhere to that.
They're all bought.
They're bought. Yeah, of course.
Let's face it. I mean,
and it creates jobs on the one hand, but you got to continue to feed that frenzy and that machine.
And that machine gets in the way of the mission. A mission for a soldier should be, it
drives the mission, right? It drives the mission.
But it shouldn't.
But it is.
That's sad.
Our neoconservative friends are pushing this agenda. That's why they want to move NATO right up to the Russian Federation to create havoc. Why they're intruding into the Black Sea. Why we are now going into South and East China Sea.
That's why we don't win any wars, too, right? I mean, we didn't win in Syria. We didn't win in Iraq. We're not winning. We didn't win in Afghanistan.
No.
We didn't win in Libya.
We have to determine what is really in our national security interest and be realistic about it. We're looking at everything. Why we are still the only world police in the world. We're the only ones. Russia, China are regional.
Did you look, when you looked at these numbers, it looked to me like everything that you were describing, well, not everything, I'm overstating it. Much of what you were describing had less to do with troops and more to do with military contractors.
Absolutely. And what's also interesting is when you look at those board members, Rick, and even Michael, to your point too, a lot of those people that are now board members were the ones telling the generals, oh no, we need more, or excuse me, telling the Congress, we need more time. No, just a couple more months and then we'll secure it. And it's the question of, is that revolving door of the military to the Pentagon to the defense contractors back to the Pentagon, is there something that can be done about it? Right now, no.
Well, they've tried, but they're granting waivers. For example, Austin, there's supposed to be a 7-year waiver before any Secretary of State can become a secretary, and there's also a limit in going into a defense contractor. They waive that all the time.
So they have a rule, but they don't follow it.
There you go.
And for the most part, they're making decisions based on what's good for the company that's put them on the board or made them an official of.
Well, yeah, because the companies put pressure, given their strength. They are too big to fail.
And they're making decisions then for the bottom line of the company rather than for what's good for Americans and what's good for the American foreign policy.
Well, that's beside the point. It's for their bottom line. It is for their bottom line.
When you worked at the Pentagon, did that piss you off?
Totally.
I mean, to hear us describe exactly how this war and breaking down how this war was fought seems, I think, to anybody who's listening to us tonight, to seem just really sad.
And
it's not what we're supposed to do.
It's not going to end anytime soon either.
So it'll be another one. Does that bring us full circle? Are we going to be engaged with China and we're going to do the same kind of thing? Go into a war we really don't want to win? We just want to make a lot of money?
Well, that's why we're trying to get out of the Middle East so we can start pivoting toward China and focus on China. Yeah.
There's a great quote by Chalmers Johnson, a former CIA director, who said, I guarantee you when war becomes profitable, you'll...
Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this conflict by the patient accumulation of successes, by meeting a series of challenges with determination and will and purpose. Today we focus on Afghanistan, but the battle is broader. We will stay until the mission is done. We know that true peace will only be achieved when we give the Afghan people the means to achieve their own aspirations. Peace will be achieved by helping Afghanistan develop its own stable government. Our alliance must maintain its resolve and finish the fight in NATO. As President Sarkozy put it in London last week, we cannot afford to lose Afghanistan. Whatever the cost, however difficult the victory, we cannot afford it. We must win. I agree completely.
And even as there will be dark days ahead in Afghanistan, the light of a secure peace can be seen in the distance. These long wars will come to a responsible end. Others will ask, why don't we leave immediately? That answer is also clear. We must give Afghanistan the opportunity to stabilize. Otherwise, our gains could be lost, and al-Qaeda could establish itself once more. And as Commander-in-Chief, I refuse to let that happen. 2014, therefore, is a pivotal year. Together with our allies and the Afghan government, we have agreed that this is the year we will conclude our combat mission in Afghanistan. I think Americans have learned that it's harder to end wars than it is to begin them. Yet this is how wars end in the 21st century. Not through signing ceremonies, but through decisive blows against our adversaries, transitions to elected governments, security forces who are trained to take the lead, and ultimately full responsibility.
Our troops will fight to win. We will fight to win.
If I wanted to win that war, Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be gone. It would be over literally in 10 days. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route. We're getting out. We want to get out. We had good meetings with the Taliban. And we are going to be leaving, and we're going to be bringing our soldiers back home. We've been there for almost 20 years. It's a long time. We've done a great job in terms of getting rid of terrorists. Now it's up to other countries to get rid of those terrorists.
I'm now the 4th United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a 5th. I'm deeply saddened by the facts we now face. but I do not regret my decision to end America's war fighting in Afghanistan.